Greetings. Welcome to the live. Let's test and see if you guys can actually hear me. Yo, 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 yo. All right, let's get started. Welcome to the live, everybody. You already know who it is. No need for an introduction. However, before we get started, let's do a quick little prayer over this live. Father, I ask you to protect me and give me the ancestral knowledge that you would like me to share in my life. Please let me be able to ignore the fallacies, ignore the negativity, and most importantly, ignore the BS. Thank you for waking us up. Thank you for giving us this knowledge, and thank you for blessing us to open our eyes and start this beautiful, wondrous day. In Jesus' name, amen. With that being said, let's get started. It's your host, the one, the only, Professor Namii. I ain't your mother, though. Don't forget that. And today, we got a special episode. We're going to be talking about the first female pharaoh. When I say the first, I mean the first. The one that had all the other men in civilization mad. And one of the strongest pharaohs today for all the history that she has accomplished. It's a little dark in here. Hold on, let me get my light. And we're also going to discuss why are men jealous of women? Let's talk about it. Give me a second. Let me light my incense. We need to get started. Today is a beautiful day. Beautiful. I love it. Today's a wondrous day. Because when you have a relationship with God, or you have a relationship with the divine, you see things, you see right through things, people, and places that think they're hiding in plain sight. You see through the bullshit, you see through lies, you see the fake innocence. You see right through it. No, because I have y'all on my side, nothing could get past me. Nothing could get past me. I see it. I see it. And like I said, as long as I got the divine and Yahweh, Yahshua on my side, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. With that being said, let's get started with the lesson. Say it with me when I say it. Hatshepsut. 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 Who's Hatshepsut?
I think that she's the first female pharaoh.
Okay. And not only is Hatshepsut the first female pharaoh, she's one of the first openly bisexual gay pharaohs to date. Let me explain before you get your panties in a bunch. Hatshepsut had the longest reigning female pharaoh ever of 20 years. She became queen first before she was pharaoh. She was married to her half-brother, Thutmose II. They shared the father, but of course, with pharaoh, you're a whore. Sorry, I hate to say it, but it's true. You have multiple wives, and if you don't have multiple wives, you have a wife and a concubine. And he didn't marry, he had a son with a concubine. And they married each other, the half-brother and Hatshepsut. So, she was royal queen wife at first. But once her brother, Thutmose II, passed away, she told them that Amun, the divine father, chose her to become the next pharaoh. If you don't know nothing about Amun-Ra, you're living under the rock. Amun-Ra is one of the best to ever do it. The divine God, the one who people went to when they needed assistance, guidance, and everything else. So, when her husband died, she was only 12 years old. She said, Amun-Ra came to her in the dream and told her she must be the new Pharaoh. When Amun-Ra is in the picture, a lot of people can't push back because bad things start to happen. All right. Hatshepsut preferred to be carved and drawn as a man with a mustache, a beard, and even a male's pharaoh crown. It was different crowns for wives and it was different crowns for pharaohs. Hatshepsut always wore a fake beard. Hatshepsut always wore a masculine crown. Let me explain, let me show. Let me explain, let me show. I should have had the pictures ready, but I was getting myself together because once again, I'll be forgetting I'll be forgetting why these folks be doing the most. I'll be forgetting why they mad at me. So I had to remind them. And I only told to remind these bitches, I had to remind these niggas why they be mad at me. So we gonna make it happen. Yeah, I'm on 1 today. We on 10 today. Because at the end of the day, I don't like funny shit. Don't fucking play with me. Let's just knock that in the bud. So we're gonna look at the crown and the beard today. Hold on. Because apparently they're being a dickhead. Like right here. In this photo, Hatshepsut looks like a man, right? Looks like an ordinary pharaoh. Wrong. Female. Even this one. Hatshepsut. Well, that's when she was wife. This is when she was wife. However, she preferred to be drawn and carved as a man. So she made sure all the people that do the carvings, all the drawings, the scribes, made sure they had that fake beard and a man's pharaoh crown. Hatshepsut, she didn't want to be perceived as a great royal wife. Question? Oh, sorry, but I was focused on the line. Here you go. Does this look like a woman to you? Hatshepsut preferred for her to be shown as a man, with a man pharaoh's crown and a fake beard. And she wore this fake beard every day, as well as the male pharaoh crown, instead of her womanly great wife, royal wife crown. Basically, long story short, Hatshepsut was one of the first studs. Even though she was technically bisexual, she was married to her brother, and she also had relations with women. She had a concubine, I forgot her name, because it was crossed out in the text, that she was with every night, that stayed with her. Hi, just got here. What are we talking about? Oh, we're talking about the first female pharaoh, Hatshepsut. Hatshepsut. And how she was one of the best pharaohs to date. That's what we're talking about today. But we just getting started, so you ain't missing. Anyways, she married her half-brother when she was 12. He died young from a sickness because they didn't have that much doctors. They didn't really have anything good out there at that time. And she decided that Amun-Ra, the god, chose her to be next pharaoh after her husband / half-brother passed away. And back then, when Amun-Ra said something, that was it. So they went through it. He was the divine god at that time. They looked at him on a pedestal. They held him to a higher standard. So, like I said, she was pharaoh. But even though she was carved and drawn as a man, as you can see in those photos, she was really a woman. She wore a fake not fake. It was a fake beard because women don't have the long beards right here. So she wore a fake beard and a man's crown. Anyway, she did a lot of wonderful things for ancient Egypt, such as the expedition to Punt of Africa. Punt was a location in Africa. I will find it later, but I'm going to just get and explain what she did while she did her boats in Africa. And I'm also going to explain how Egypt was not in Africa, and here is why. Hatshepsut decided one day, oh, I'm gonna go to Africa. We're gonna get a few ships, 210 men, and we're gonna head over there, and we're gonna take what we can get. We're gonna trade with the Africans, and hopefully we could come back with some more natural resources. She got 5 ships, 210 men, and they sailed on an expedition to Put in Africa. Which leads me to this. If Egypt is in Africa, remember, not West Africa, East Africa. Egypt was in East Africa. Why do we need 5 ships, 200 men, to get ivory, gold, and all these other things? Incense, gold, ivory, and exotic animals. If you're in Africa, don't you already have exotic animals? If you're in Africa, why do you need all those ships, all those people to conquest and get these items? Which leads me to my point, Egypt was not in Africa, Egypt was here in the Americas. And everyone wants to cover up and hide it so that the original people, the people with the DNA that match here, can have a big lawsuit and get their land back. That's their biggest fear. It's not even about the money, it's about the land. Moving forward, Egypt is not in Africa because if Egypt was in Africa, why did she need 5 ships to sail if it was right around the corner? She had the biggest obelisk, still standing to this day, 97 feet tall. And not only was she a woman, like I said, she had female concubines. If anyone does not know what a concubine is, I can't tell you, Ari, because you are too young. However, concubines, the ones that's smart enough to know what a concubine is, a side piece, an open hole, you know those? Yeah. She has a lot of concubines that just so happen to be female. She had one male concubine after her half-brother / husband died, but they never got it official. He was just a royal or one of the people in the royal court, so it wasn't like, yeah. And not only that, after she died, Thutmose III, which was her stepson at the time, became Pharaoh. He was next in line for the throne. You know, they keep it in the family. You know how it goes. And he tried to erase her name, her legacy, her image, her monuments. A lot of her statues are buried and broken due to jealousy of a woman. Now, I have a question for you guys. Why do you think that Thutmose III broke all of this Pharaoh who accomplished all of these great things? Why do you think he broke all her monuments, everything she built? The only thing he kept up was her temple and a few pieces. Everything else was buried, broken, or straight up sold off. Why do you think he did that if he was next in line to his stepmother? Why do you think he did that, Art?
I think that he was really jealous.
But why would a man be jealous of a woman? What do you think?
I think that he was
Let's explain. Her reign as Pharaoh was unusual. At that time, women weren't allowed to be Pharaoh. So the fact that she was the first, remember the first female Pharaoh, that was unusual in its own right. And encouraged fluid sexuality, like I said. She didn't deal with just men. She dealt with men and women. And because of that, he didn't approve of that. A lot of people question, oh, well, Pharaoh could do it. I guess it's okay if we can do it. A lot of people started being more fluid. A lot of people thought they had options. And most importantly, a lot of people thought since they're in bloodline and they're female, they can get the crown. And the men did not like that. It was bad enough they had to compete with other men for the crown. Other women too, that was a lot for them. That was a lot for them. They didn't like that very much. However, I have some reasons stated here on why men are jealous of women. Number 1, the provider identity. A lot of men take pride in being the strong, masculine provider that everyone wants to be and tend to. They take very good pride in that, even though in these day and days, a lot of these men are not providers and they believe in 50-50 and they act very feminine due to atrazine in the water, but that's not nothing here. A lot of men back then took pride of being able to provide for themselves, and not only for themselves, the woman in their lives. Number two, threat to the power dynamic. Like I said, especially if you are a man who has family ties to the royal court, you're expected to be next in line as Pharaoh. As soon as somebody else dies, you have to hurry up and race to prove yourself that you're next in line and be chosen to be Pharaoh. If it's not only men that you have to compete with and it's other women that you have to compete with for this title, it makes the pool a lot more smaller for you. So now I already have to compete with all these men. Now I have to compete with women. It makes them feel inadequate. It makes them feel not good enough. It makes them feel not being able to measure up. So, and not only that, Hatshepsut, men and the women always in conflict. Yeah, but true, we're going to talk about that later on, though. Let me just get to Hatshepsut. He was jealous of Hatshepsut because she was one of the greatest female pharaohs to ever do it. The only person with a bigger reign than her was Cleopatra, and she was a spy, like I told you guys. Cleopatra was not there to really be in the Kemetic culture. Cleopatra was a spy, and Cleopatra was there to end the dynasty, which she did. So, another reason men are jealous of successful women, the fear of losing control. For years, women they didn't have the same rights as men. It takes always two things to make anything. You're absolutely correct. It takes two to tango. It takes two to make a child. It takes two to grow. It takes a two to a lot. A lot of people have this entitled sense of superiority, especially men over women. They feel like they can do things better than women. And even though they are stronger, even physically, by nature, it doesn't mean women aren't capable. It doesn't mean that you're smarter than a woman. Because a lot of times, women are intellectually smarter and stronger. And not only that, they fear losing control. Like I said, women wasn't allowed to have huge titles. Women are allowed to make laws. Women are allowed to have bank accounts until recently. Women weren't allowed to do a lot of things. They couldn't even buy a house without a man. They couldn't do anything without a man, hence why marriage was such a big thing back in the old school days, the 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s. If you didn't have a man, you was called a spinster, something was wrong with you, and 9 out of 10, you was shunned by society. Every man always had a great woman behind it. Every great man always did have a great woman behind him. You're right. Akhenaten, and Nefertiti was a good example. Even though they had a lot of problems with, concubines and stuff like that, they made a good team. Not only them, a lot of other people too. And let's ask about the why. Why did her stepson become jealous of she was a great pharaoh? If she helped the civilization, why was he mad at her? Let's see. Not only was her range unusual, not only was she sexually fluid, her statues were made as men. Like I said, she did not want to be depicted as a woman. All her statues, all her carvings, even in her temple, if you go there today, it's based off faces and crowns and fall beards of men. She thought she was one of the first studs that would do it. A bisexual stud. You would have thought, right? And because of that, he wanted to have control of the narrative, like a lot of men do. To fit a narrative he was uncomfortable with, he chose to control and buried a lot of prominent things, carvings, information, trades that Hatshepsut accomplished because of his jealousy, because his incapability to control the narrative, because he fears that his power will be lost. That's why he tries his best to get rid of her. But he didn't do a good enough job, because obviously we know about it today. And yeah, she's one of my favorite pharaohs because not only did she stay true to who she was, she accomplished a lot of things. And you want to ask yourself, how can this be implemented to Kemet? She created botanical gardens. You see a lot of ones like the New York Botanical Gardens, gardens that had a covering like a tent, a greenhouse vibe. She created a lot of those free Egypts. Not only did she do that, she created mere trees. She imported mere trees and transported it to other places within Upper and Lower Egypt / Kemet. She also built woke-up mortuary temples like the one she has today. Let me show y'all a picture. This is one of her creations. Oh, don't look at that. A woke-up mortuary temple. We can go back 1,000 years ago, man. The job of hunting dangerous animals for food and went to war for years. So I guess women were left behind to think for themselves. True. Like I said, a lot of women were left behind, even to this day, even the First World War, Civil Wars, different wars. Women were forced to figure things out, how to survive, how to get money, because it was times where they came and reached out to the husband out fighting wars. Question. Here is it right here, bud. I was just answering the question. You see it? All right. She created popular mortuary temples, organic architecture, environmental friendly designs and voyages, i.e., the land of punt expedition, where she received incense, ivory, gold, and other natural resources that can help and be transported within Egypt. Buildings respecting the environment, natural cooling, solar energy, and visually stunning, built to last. And that's the key thing I want to implement regarding New Kemet. We had things back then that's still here to this day. We need to figure out ways we can build infrastructures that are meant to last. Sustainability is key, and not only sustainability, environment friendly, something that could withstand weather, snow, sleet, snow. But 9 times out of 10, when we build, we're going to go somewhere it's mainly hot. So, yeah. Not only that, high quality direct supply chains, eliminating the middleman. Hatshepsut said, I'm tired of going back and forth with these people from all these different places who want all these different things. We're going to eliminate the middleman and trade within our community, upper and lower. So she made it happen. She created these factories to consumer logistics, shipping expeditions throughout the Red Sea to serve upper and lower Egypt, aka Kemet. She also created traditional fragmented trade networks. So everyone inside of the country, inside of the land, can trade with each other instead of going out seeking other people to be the middleman. She said, no more middleman, we're going to get it, we're going to trade within each other. Hatshepsut ultimately proved power didn't have to be projected through warfare. Power is projected by trade, power is projected by a whole bunch of other things. She was a stud, a queen who was a woman, dressed and moved like a true man in the Pharoah. That's what we can learn. It doesn't matter how you show up in the world. It doesn't matter how you decide who you want to love. It doesn't matter how you want to dress. It doesn't matter. What matters is the impact, the changes, the ways you can impact civilization the way she did. She helped us in so many different ways, such as gardening, trade, resources, expeditions. Not only that, it's free self-expression. Even though it was weird for a female to be in this high position, because she was appointed by Amun-Ra, she defied and fought back until she received the crown. That's what we can learn, and that's how we can implement what Hatshepsut did into New Kemet. But wait, don't we see way more? Yeah, we see way more women like that today. But back in ancient Egypt, she was the first one. She was the first female pharaoh. She didn't have anyone before her to guide her. It was all men before her. She was the first to basically say, I'm a woman. Even though I dress like a man, I appear like a man. I was born a woman, and Amun-Ra appointed me as pharaoh. I must do what Amun-Ra asked of me. Of course it was pushback. Of course Tutmos was mad. But he was a kid at the time. Even though she was 12 too, he was about like what, 5? You can't be Pharaoh at 5 years old. Somebody has to take the crown. And at her tender age, she reigned for 20 years. Let's say 12, because back then they had very short life expectancies back then because not only of the heat, it was just a different life, you know. We didn't have access to medical care, 12 plus 21. She lived to about 33, 34 years old, but she reigned a strong reign. A very one. She created so many changes, gardens, planting, voyages, expeditions, trade, in-house training, eliminating the middleman. She made a big impact on Egypt. Any questions? Yeah. And if y'all are new to the chat, welcome. My name's Namii. I make these lives Monday through Friday around this time. Sometimes it changes up, and I go through the list of all the pharaohs in the past and everything about ancient Egypt / Kemet. And I plan on implementing these things that they did in the past, of course, with some model technology, to eventually make new Kemet, a new land for everyone's. Can we say she was ahead of her time, or she was a tomboy? She was ahead of her time, and she was a stud. I don't think it was a tomboy. One, she was forced to marry her half-brother, so it's not like she voluntarily married him. She also had woman concubines in a time back then where everything like that was taboo. Does this look like a woman to you? Look at the boobs. They don't even have boobs. She was queen first, like I said. But when she got the crown, well, this is a terrible picture, an inaccurate depiction. Looks like a man, right? You see how it was moving by itself? Weird. Strange, weird, real strange. Oh, wow, she died January 16th, 1458 BC. Isn't that the day before your birthday? Funny enough. Anyways, any questions, guys? All right, this concludes the lesson. I went through how this can be implemented. Hatshepsut, I usually do 2 pharaohs, but she's special, so she gets her own day. Face is woman looking. Yeah, the face is, but you see the beard, you see the crown. Back then, women had pointy up crowns, men had more like oval shaped crowns. And you know how the thing was like, if you know what I'm saying, back then, that's what men had. So she didn't want what the queens and the royal women had. She wanted what the men had. So people would look at her as a woman, so people would treat her as a pharaoh. And I feel like that's one of the main reasons she dressed as a man, so she wouldn't be treated, you know, less than, and be treated like the pharaoh she was. But she made it very clear, I'm a woman. Okay? All right. Yeah, so I have a very special lesson. We're going to do a 5-part lesson series starting tomorrow. We're going to go deep into the Amarna period, Akhenaten, Nefertiti, and Tut as well. We're going to be going deep. The Amarna period was one of the best and most popular periods of Egypt. It changed the game on a lot of things because you guys already know, back in ancient Egypt, they believed in multiple gods. As soon as the Amarna period and Akhenaten and Nefertiti came into reign, they said, nope, none of that. There's only one God. And I believe in that wholeheartedly. It's only one God, only one divine. Yes, there's a lot of high priestesses who has a connection that has a vessel to God, can be used by God, but it's only one divine. And they made sure that everyone followed that. Now, we're going to get into the royal rankings tomorrow as well. I just wanted to pop in and talk about my favorite female pharaoh. I hope you guys have a great day. I see you tomorrow. Subscribe, give me a thumbs up.